The first tap of a conductor's wand. The first rivet in a mile-high tower. The master link at the genesis of a never-ending chain. The moment a single empty canvas meets a singular master stroke. There is no one thing. Because now, there are many. Because soon, there will be more. Because one is ever the beginning. Like the first link in an infinite chain, or the first rivet in the tallest skyscraper. The master stroke is found in the masterpiece. What will you begin?
All right, everyone. Welcome to the 12th episode of the World Blockchain Roundtable. Hosts today are Greg, Sam, and Austin from Rivet. Thanks for coming on. Wadi, a congressional candidate for the Washington 3rd District. Taylor from mycrypto.com. And Sean, creator and entrepreneur. And I'm Joe, the worst host in crypto. First, a quick update. We have last week we did 3,000 and something views across. So there are 3,000 lot that will be created, split evenly among the way we break it down, but 333 for every one of the guest hosts, and 250 for Angel Breaker and Fantasy Football, who both had questions or topics. One of them was quite a long topic. And the ownership tokens, they come with perpetual passive income. They are NFTs, free edits in the World Blockchain Roundtable layer, and future governance votes for how we run this whole show. Okay, so straight to the topics this week. And we get them refreshed. And by the way, I did go and upvote everything evenly, and I've learned my lesson. I should do that after the fact because a couple of things got re-ranked because I upvoted replies too. So apologies there. But anyway, not a big deal. Jegs, first topic or question. How important is Twitter for awareness in new projects? And who do you think are the big influencers? Who wants to take this first? Twitter in particular.
I mean, I hate Twitter, not it.
I nominate Taylor.
I'm mad at them today, so yeah, Taylor.
I think it's massively important. It used to be like Reddit, and obviously I think you can make a community out of anything. You can get you can grow awareness of your project. That's the goal, right? To get users or get awareness or get people talking about you, or even like recruit people, like people need to know about you. You can do that anywhere in theory, but I think that Twitter is and has been sort of the dominant place that people go to for that information. I know that like the EIP discussions, we have the forums, we have the Discords, we have the Telegrams, like we have all these things, but at the end of the day, like the conversation or like the key points of the conversation, I guess, happen on Twitter. And I think that's actually a good thing in some regards because it's public. I liked it more when it was like Reddit because you actually have like long form instead of like these weird tweet threads that you can't follow. But yeah, if you're a new project, I would definitely say get on the Twitter. In terms of like, what was the other half, the influencers?
Yeah, it was
like, do you need to pay influencers?
Who are the big ones?
Oh, right? Who are they?
Yeah.
One of the reasons I nominated Taylor for this question is she is one of my favorite people to read rants from on Twitter.
Yep. Seconded.
Very good.
I like ranting on Twitter. If you haven't seen my Twitter today, someone pulled up a comment of mine from 5 years ago on Reddit when I was ranting. So I haven't actually changed that much, but it's like 10,000 character rant now instead of like my whatever it is, 1,000 characters on Twitter. So in terms of like influencers or like who to follow, follow everyone. Just follow, like, follow someone. Twitter will recommend you follow people. Follow those people. Follow people who like your stuff. Follow people who tweet stuff that you like. And then unfollow even more gratuitously. Like if someone said something you don't like, just unfollow. And then I think that there's one, pulling it up. Yeah, so Hive.one, that's a website. They have like a list of all of the, like, I guess big names or something. They have like an algorithm. So if you really want to know who the biggest names are in Bitcoin and Ethereum,
But definitely follow Taylor.
Yeah, you can follow me. So you can follow at my crypto, and then I'm at Tayvano, Tayvano, with an underscore at the end because I'm special.
But no, I like the point that you made too about, it used to be a lot more active on Reddit than I feel like it is now. I feel like Reddit has largely turned into price discussion, price go up, price go down, and there's not nearly as much technical discussion going on there as there was 4 or 5 years ago. I'm kind of how long I've been around this ecosystem now, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of discussion going on Twitter, but the character limit means that none of it's as in depth as I would like to see.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think if you're talking, yes, Twitter is massively important. And you guys mentioned Reddit a lot, but like I've made the point a million times, you guys are massive brainiacs. And I think that Reddit is still that more old school nerd kind of, a community when it comes to crypto. And then there's TikTok, which is just mindless, cryptoverse, and Twitter's kind of that in between, where there's actual discussion, and it's not just dancing with a Bitcoin or something goofy. Also, something that's not really been mentioned is that the validity of your project gets a lot from Twitter. If you're looking at a project and you go, oh, they only have 400, followers, or if they have 50,000 followers, but every tweet gets, 7 likes, something like that. It's a benchmark for joining a community, for deciding if a project is actually legit. So it's used for a lot of other things than really just creating awareness. But as far as creating awareness and bringing awareness, I think Twitter's probably number one. And then as far as community growth and all that stuff, you can look at, Telegram or Discord, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I got to say that Twitter works until they decide they want to choose who the winners and losers are going to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter is pretty damn active and suppressing certain things that they do want to not have on their platforms versus others. And as long as they keep
back and forth from being one of those.
Yeah. As long as Twitter can keep their grubby little hands out of our tweets and let us just have discussions on their platform, it works. But whenever they start trying to intervene and essentially curate who's on their platform, all they're doing is just choosing which businesses they allow. Essentially, at the end of the day,
changed some of the stream algorithm recently. There's a lot of weird stuff going on with what you see and how it gets sorted. Lately, anyway.
I think
that's the truth. That's the truth. But it's their platform, and honestly, it's completely
build your own Twitter.
You have to censor yourself, or else they'll come for you. That's just the truth, Sam. You know what I mean? If you keep it totally crypto. Don't mention anything else.
Any social though, right? I mean, we could have brought up, and that was my thing. Go ahead, Greg. I have something that's like good.
You go ahead first, and I'll go after you.
When you start a project, you tend to have to go and squat, right? You have to find. What's it even weighs into the name of the project typically, right? Is that available as a Twitter handle? Is it available as a .com? Is it available? Right. That's the way you do business now, and it's funny because some of these social networks are better just squatted. I wish we would have never opened a Dragonchain subreddit, right? There's nothing, it's worthless. It is nothing but troll. Reddit, Reddit is the cesspool of the internet. It's probably the worst of the worst. I can't think of anything other than maybe the Discord user interface that is worse than Reddit. And it's a weird thing because Discord is becoming more. There are more projects on Discord than there used to be.
Which I still don't understand. Discord gives no guarantees of privacy. There's no way to maintain internet. There's no way to maintain intellectual property with anything you post on Discord. They read every message.
Right. But
But, I mean, I wouldn't use Discord as like a private communication thing, but I wouldn't use Reddit for that either. I mean, like
people are using it for work though, Austin.
I would not advise that. But as a replace, as a successor to Reddit, I think it's kind of weird, but I can see it. As a successor to your company's private chat server, then probably not.
I think it's just there because it's gaming community. There's a lot of adoption gaming community, so you have a lot of people there who are willing to get into crypto. So it's an easy place to. Oh, I already have an account there. That's the same thing that everybody used to have a Telegram account. So when you had a crypto project, that was a great place to have a tight community because it's it's controllable, it's clean, you can do very flexible DMs and group chats and things like that.
Well, at Rivet, we have a public Discord, but that's not where we have our private internal company conversations.
Right. Yeah, I don't think anybody has them all they have to follow. But like, I guess I would have to say 3 things about Twitter real fast before I move on. Yeah. 3 real points of value that haven't been mentioned yet. One of them is you can see projects based on who interacts with them and who they follow. And typically projects begin by following their founders' accounts and their founders follow them back. So if you want to know who builds a thing, but you can't find it anywhere else, it's a really great place to figure out, who makes a thing that I think is cool, which is a really great way to find a circle of people that you're interested in. And the other piece of that too is like, there's this really interesting follower of mine who said something the other day. He was like, I follow him, he follows me. He said something like the most interesting thing to him about Twitter was that over time you can see how people react when they're faced with rights and wrongs, or when they say something stupid or say something smart, and you get to know a person in that context in depth if you follow them. So my point 3 is, pick a rotating list of interesting people and put them on every tweet notification and just switch it month to month and get to know somebody specifically. If you use it as a way to really connect with people, it's powerful. If you use it as a way to demonstrate social proof, then it's just another tool in a swath of kind of useless tools that don't require you to create great content or really connect you to people that aren't gonna just get you to click more ads or whatever. So
on the second part of the question, getting people to click more ads, is talking about influencers. I think it's super important. But you can see, to Sam's point, the most biggest huge influencers of months, the ancient months past. When it comes to crypto, everything's fast, but they stepped out of line. Now you can be the biggest shill and piece of crap and basically rip people off, you're fine. But as long as you don't talk about the freedom aspect of crypto or that kind of stuff. But as soon as you kind of step out of that mold, that's when the light gets shined on you, and that's when you're screwed. I was talking to Beatles last night. He's like, you see like 7 people see my tweets now. I said, yeah, I could see that. Because it's all, just massive political stuff. He's done all of his crypto stuff. He's developed Monarch Wallet. He's got a lot of businesses. I still don't know. He told me he has something in every 7-Eleven, and I don't know what it is. It bothers me. Keep trying to figure it out. It's like a game with us. But Bitcoin Ben, same. People who had huge.
So did they actually kill their followers? Did they drop their follower account?
Because you can't.
Well,
the only place you have access to them is to pay for it through like Patreon or something like that. Because it's frustrating because you want to say that there's not really social media alternatives, but there are good social media alternatives, blockchain based or not. Most are, and people just don't use them, which is I don't know whether it's some kind of conditioning we have or what.
But isn't people using them part of what makes them good or not? Like I agree, there's
Yeah,
some great
it's-
technical things out there, but you could have the greatest software in the world, but for a social network, if nobody uses it, it's not that good.
Well, and that's why.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The reason people didn't use it like 2 years ago is because it was still a little clunky. But they're viable. I mean, they're viable alternatives now.
That's just time.
That you're not giving
Nobody
up.
used Twitter when I first started using Twitter. It was the stupidest damn thing in the world, but it was funny. So
I mean, it still is.
It.
That hasn't changed.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Well, and that is the people on it matter because, like, say, I've been in a conversation with Vitalik. I've never met him in person, but that was awesome, right? And it was just this back and forth about the fact that Zoom is a CCP infiltrated software, and he was okay with it. He didn't care if it wasn't open source. I'm like, what? Wait, is this really Vitalik? That doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, we went back and forth. It was pretty cool, and that matters that he's on there. And I will tell you something else that's interesting to me is the interactions and the way that trolls work. I mean, running a project, you get tons of trolls and people doing other things. You can't figure out what they're doing. Sometimes they're paid, whatever. Telegram, you can usually tell, right? You can tell when there's a group of people working together, work in the room. Or
like I said, sometimes I get messaged on Telegram by me.
Yeah. There's tons of issues with identity everywhere. Facebook is horrible. We stopped posting to Facebook because no matter what, if you are a project and you post something on Facebook, you're going to get somebody randomly, doing some stupid thing as one of your founders in the thread, right? And it's just like, it's not worth it. And Facebook doesn't really care. It's the weirdest thing. Twitter used to be horrible about it, especially during 2018. Well, they would never. What do you say? You report it
with
and it was.
With keywords. So if you tweet anything if you say the word MetaMask on Twitter right now, you will be attacked by like 6 bots that like send you a link to like a Google form, and they're like, oh, hi, here's a Google form. We'll help you via this Google form, and there will be like 6 of them. It's insane. Luckily, it seems to be fairly limited to like very specific keywords, but it's absurd. It's absurd.
When you report it to Twitter, it's very arbitrary. It's a human looking at it, and it's like they don't really care about the implications. They just,
they don't at all. And the good thing is that if you tweet that and they reply to you and then you block them, thank goodness now their reply is seen far less than it used to be, because in 2017 that was the big problem. Is like they would reply, you would block them, and their tweet would still show up directly under yours. And there was nothing that I could do, to stop it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We had
it can get pretty gross too with some of the stuff that people would say. So just kind of rude and I mean, like there's a place for productive conflict and interesting dialogue, but that's not what you get. That's not what you get. So that's very true.
Yes, that I'm all for antagonistic social media use, but it's got to be like at a certain quality. Don't just like personally attack. Don't just like cuss your brain. And don't follow me around personally attacking me. Like you're just clogging up my feed now.
Right. It's a Unicode graveyard already enough. Like.
Yeah. And so do you guys, I guess one last thing, do you block or mute? I tend to mute now, so there's not even any drama. It just mutes them and I don't have to worry about it. But not always, right?
It depends.
I never do.
I used to mute. Now I feel like I have a following, so like that's my when you have a bunch of people following you around on the internet, like that's what the block button is for. It's like that's your power. I do also unblock though. I mean, not everyone, but like if I get in a thing with someone I block, I might unblock them, and I just gratuitously block like all the like spam and the hex shills. I don't.
Has anyone been shadow banned? I've had particular posts shadow
7
banned.
accounts.
If I say anything about China in particular, they're really weird things. Doesn't even show up in searches. It's strange.
I think I'm at 7 accounts now are shadow banned, 4 banned, and it's just
Okay.
Like a lot of it is innocuous too. Like it's just I don't even know
You don't
why
even
half of
notice,
them are.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of
And
it's like
Twitter's switched
little bits at a time. Like, I'll talk to other influencers, and all of a sudden our views are just down 50%. Just for like a couple weeks, or all of our subscribers, the bell notifications were turned off.
and this is what I
Things
mean
like
though
that.
with Twitter choosing who the winners and losers are, and why does they need to keep their hands out of the crypto thing. I mean, I know I've seen it also with even congressmen and such like that they get depromoted on Twitter depending on their own views and who it is that they're running for. I don't know if Wadi here has any experience with that. I ain't heard you speak up yet, but here's your end.
So we're just getting started with the social media. We have a year until the primary, and I'm taking it a little low and slow. I haven't even started a Twitter yet because I'm so against it. I have an account, but I haven't been posting to it because I'm like, why am I contributing to this platform that I don't like? There are a couple alternatives out there. There's the Getter that came out, and I was looking into that, but it's a little one-sided over the other. But I think nowadays you get one or the other with social media platforms. But with Dorsey and the Bezoses and all those people starting to be more open about crypto, and with Amazon accepting crypto soon, Bitcoin, I think they say, yeah, they can censor anybody that they don't necessarily want or who they see as competition. I see that as a big problem here in the future.
Yeah. It's also like, I think there's probably a pretty big challenge from your standpoint to do the right kind of thing. Like we saw this nuttiness with the cryptocurrency tax running through the Senate this past week and a half or so, right? And they were trying to do something that ostensibly on its face, if they understood it correctly, was something that seemed rational. And the problem was they weren't talking to the people who actually knew what the hell was going on. They were talking to the people who paid the most for their time. They were talking to people who loaded them up with priors about what the right thing to think about it is. And they didn't go in asking questions. They went in with a design.
Greg, we've said that before, and we've talked about that ad nauseum. But this time, they did come out with that, and it was terrible. It was horrible. But then some other senators came out and wanted to fix the wording, and said, no. So it's their peers, and they still didn't listen. They passed that just as it was. They did not do the amendment to fix the wording. So I don't know anymore. That was a big deal for me. I know that they're, smart people. They're not idiots. Some of them are idiots, though. Some of them are idiots. Most of them are very smart people who get bad information from bad people who have a lot of money. But they had the opportunity, and their peers were telling them, no. You're going about this all wrong. This is going to create more problems than it's going to fix. And they did not change it.
What really bakes my noodle is what were they talking about behind the scenes? Because we all know, right? Like the thing that you put on the screen on C-SPAN, the speeches you make, the comments you make, the quotables, those are stage show. Those are to show the people democracy in action. And what really is happening is a different kind of thing. It's a totally different
wrestling. That's wrestling.
Right? Like what is the real conversation? And how much can we expect it to resemble what they're presenting to people? That's why I would say, as far as running for Congress, I applaud the taking a wait and listen low key stance, because that's going to be, in all technology, really going to serve you well.
Yes. And especially with campaigns, a lot of candidates come out a year and a half before the primary. There's other elections happening. They try to be as loud as possible. They end up saying a bunch of stupid things or things that they don't necessarily know about, and they burn themselves in the end. With a year to go, and it's 2021, it's not 1985. We can campaign on a more digital focus and less time. What Sun Tzu said in the art of war, it's not about lengthy campaigns, it's about victory. So low and slow, keep quiet, don't keep people at an arm's reach, but you don't want to join a team one way or the other. Even with the crypto and digital assets. You know, some of you guys don't necessarily like each other or one or the other. There's competition, and I don't want to be too buddy with one person over the other. This is a team effort. You guys aren't being represented in the Capitol. What did Elizabeth Warren say? I didn't hear her actually say it. I saw a lot of memes about it, but shadow hackers, shadow hackers are going to take over the market. And, it's like, come on, now you're just lying.
Right. We're speculating at ghosts, right? It'd be like banning e-commerce because you're worried about credit card fraud in 1995.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I would just say, like, definitely recognize that the people that are not being heard in crypto are the ones who are truly doing this decentralized. And a lot of us are the folks who, are doing this for the reasons that make this technology something that, solves the problems that these folks are worried about it creating if it's done right.
And I want to bring up a point.
You're right about that. It's about a year earlier.
And I want to bring up a point that I went into at another podcast where it is that if with rules like these are coming through on Congress and the Senate, all we're doing is scaring away future development, future work happening here in the States.
Yep.
If and when the US dollar does indeed collapse, along with most other global fiat currencies, the countries that did not do this stuff are going to be the ones who are in the best position in terms of employment, financials, and future opportunities for the countries. These are the countries that are going to be the ones that are going to be leading the pack on technological development in a world where it is we have inherently global commerce by design because it is internet based. Sorry.
No,
go ahead.
No, it is that.
Well,
that's exactly true. That's exactly true. And the weird thing about it is you can go back. I mean, if you are a public official, you can go back and look. You can see what happened in the internet. You can see what happened with the crypto wars in the 90s, and you can see that the right side did win. Yet we would have been there faster had they not tried to make it illegal to basically be a crypto coder, and I'm talking about cryptography, not even cryptocurrency. And that was entirely what that was. They wanted control. They wanted to be able to, they wanted basically for people not to have some measure of privacy, right? And there's an Assange quote on that. I mean, it's a very powerful thing. And they lost. They realized, oh, okay, we can't do this anymore. It doesn't matter that the lobbyist is coming in my office. And it's like, guys, this is real jobs. I'm not going to, do whatever you want to do.
Right. So, didn't they find like a fundamental flaw in the V-Chips encryption backdoor before they even launched past the prototype in a way that would have to start the whole program over from scratch, and that's why they scrapped it? Wasn't that something? Like
are you talking about the Clipper chips?
Or Clipper chip? V-Chip is what I think about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there was also the what was the, I can't even remember what the algorithm was or what the name was, where it was for the DVD locking. I mean, that was even a funny one, right? I mean, it was a very interesting way that it was played out, and it was pretty cool. Because you think about it, back then it was all Hollywood. It wasn't even the banking industry. It wasn't, and is Hollywood more powerful than the banks? I don't know. It's just weird. It was literally Hollywood back then, .com has had issues with those very same lobbyists, and you can see how powerful they are, right, across nation states. Anyway, we can go to the next topic if you want. That was good. That was
a pretty cool one.
Okay. How does crypto crowdfunding and blockchain work? So, Greg, you already answered some of this.
I said I was going to do it short, and then I kind of gave my whole answer. I could invent examples, maybe, of some things that would be possible, but like
starting a DAO in Wyoming. Me and you do this.
Oh, you can do anything with a DAO in Wyoming. We are yet to see, and I almost hate to say this in front of somebody who may or may not rat out this awesome idea to some regulators who'd be very surprised and dismayed if somebody did this perfectly legally under the existing architecture. But Wyoming has the ability to make decentralized autonomous organizations into puppet masters for LLCs, which would allow someone to do something like, pool funds on a blockchain in a DAO and acquire a company that's on the public market, take it private, and subject it to decentralized autonomous control. and that could probably be done perfectly legally under the existing framework, which is amazingly different and awesome and probably full of disastrous pitfalls and kind of terrifying, but also amazing in ways that, like, imagine if the people who cared the most about movie theaters were the people who actually made decisions about what happened to AMC, instead of people who are mostly beholden to folks who are trying to protect people from losing that company's value, their public stockholders. Like, it's more pure democracy in terms of how the people that have the biggest stake in a brand or an idea, or an approach to building something, they're going to be the ones who care about it the most. And instead of trying to invent, some kind of stakeholder capitalism that's meant to care about the big picture and longer term, why not have the people who care the most about the brand and about the things that it does make those decisions? I mean, it's a powerful idea, but it also has some potentially nefarious uses if not properly guided and properly explained and properly regulated. And these are questions that are completely off the map for the regulatory landscape.
And something I want to ask you guys, because this fits into this, and it's been corrupted, right? And it's been you could blame it on the people that put up BS projects, or you could blame it on the people who put money into the BS projects. But either way, I was really interested in, it's, I still think it's some level that there will be a lot of this in the future, but the difference between a utility token and a security token. And when you have both, and, at various times between 2017 and now, the SEC didn't even, and it wasn't maybe that they didn't understand it, they didn't have any interest in understanding the difference. And it was a weird thing when we would talk to our lawyers. It's like, okay, if they're trying to say that we're a security, then what is the equity? What's the actual stock, and what is the security in? And literally, when it boiled all the way down, they were trying to say that the tokens, if they were securities, were actual equity ownership in themselves. So it's a security unto itself. It's an ownership of itself. They couldn't explain it further than that, and it didn't make any sense to me, and we couldn't accept it. And people know some of that story, but my thing was
the freaking PCOR Commission eats the world.
Yeah, well, and it was just, it is this because it is this, and because that's how we could pound it into that freaking hole, right? But it was this weird thing, and all the time I was very interested in, there are different properties of ownership tokens and use tokens, right? It's like the equivalent of, I own stock in Chuck E. Cheese and I have all these tokens, right? And it is the difference. It is literally the difference, and that's how simple it is, but they don't want that, right? And I'm like, okay, why don't you want that?
Hypothetical for the room, right? Here's a question. Someone fractionalizes ownership in an NFT, and it would normally be classified as an investment similar to the original Howey Test's apple orchards, but the token is actually a political statement specifically directed at this issue. It's meant to fractionalize ownership in the issue itself, and buying that is in and of itself an act of free expression protected as political speech. What happens when the SEC runs up against investments that are meant to speak things that are clearly protected by the Constitution?
They'll do what they always do and ignore the Constitution and go after you. Like,
I was like, why is the Constitution involved in this conversation? That's gives zero crap about
that's that reality versus what it should be kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, the SEC would certainly try to go after that. What would it do in the courts, I think, is maybe another question.
There are two things.
The lawyer and me, like,
answer. The only two criteria that matter to answer that question literally and in reality is how much attention does this project have? Where did it come from? Is it something that is in public eye? Number one. And number two would be, how much money do they have in the bank in a legal fund? Those are the only two questions that matter as to how that would turn out. That's it.
Yes. Because that's right. In reality, and this goes for a whole number of things, right? The SEC, but also just goes in general, like in the US especially, like anyone can go try to sue anyone for any reason. It can be complete BS, but they can, right? And if the person who's doing the suing or is doing the right has more money, more time, more resources in general, than you do, you're going to lose, even if it's complete BS, right? That's the reality of the situation. So if you have a whole bunch of money and you want to fight the SEC, go for it. But also keep in mind, like it's not just the money, right? You have to actually you have to stand your moral ground through it all. Right. And while you're doing that, you're going to be sacrificing the things that you probably actually want to be doing. And for me, I would rather avoid all that. Like, I'd rather okay, what, you want money? Okay, I'll give you money because I can make more money, right? I can't make more time. Time's the most important thing to me. Like, I would rather, okay, fine, here, take that money so I can go and keep doing the things I want to do and actually be part of society rather than oh my God. And lawyers, I love you lawyers, but I don't want to talk to you all day. I just don't. Sorry.
Poor Greg.
I know.
Yeah. Shakespeare's greatest quote.
I think Greg would agree, though, that the system is so messed up and so broken.
I was honestly
it's not just money, though. It's
what would a just society do?
Like you can use the legal system now just to make a statement, which is, it shouldn't be used as a political tool. I mean, like the Democrats from Texas, that they all went up to DC. All political stunt, it's theater, but now they're suing the governor for mental trauma, for making them do it, and they're suing him for $5 and then $10 in emotional distress. That's it. That's clogging up the legal system,
right?
So for this totally political reason.
So I guess the whole sorry to drop a theory question on you guys that probably is way more relevant for a law classroom discussion, but I feel like if we've got money as speech as precedent, and we've got a qualified investor system that butts up against that kind of thing being lawful, then we have a really obvious conundrum that sort of points out the flaw in calling everything a potentially securitized asset until proven otherwise, and then we can decide what else it is. It's trying to say that email is per se a security until proven otherwise. No, it's a technology people can use for finance or they can use for baking.
I just don't see the argument of money as speech as a unilateral truth, because cryptocurrency is regulated. It's controlled speech. It's effectively, you're allowed to do one thing or another with cryptocurrency depending on what you're doing with it, even though it is code, even though it is peer-to-peer, and even though it is two consenting parties doing things between each other without anybody else involved, even though it is money, and even that money is speech, and speech is speech, but it's still completely controlled all the way through. I don't see money as speech as a unilateral truth as something that can be used to defend cryptocurrency, because I think that ruling is specific to certain types of money and certain types of speech are free.
You're missing the point. It's speech at the government, at a regulated forum, saying to the government, we are for particularly freeing this type of speech up from this particular regulation. And it's protected in the same way that regulations on campaign finance have to be limited.
To make it into a campaign, that's another bit. You could just totally, and we've already talked about PACs in the past. Greg, I think maybe you missed your calling if we had maybe a multi-trillion-dollar loss class action against the lobbyists. We could probably, because that the lobbyists have stolen that much money from every citizen in the U.S. Why not go after that, right?
I have plans. And someday something else will be done by Greg.
Very good. That's awesome. Okay. Anybody else on that? You want to go on? Okay. All right. Jacob Wayne. I used to live in Jackson Hole, and I always love hearing about Wyoming. Y'all have discussed the woman Catelyn Long and why Wyoming is a popular location for crypto. I'm curious if Jackson Hole is specifically the place, or is it spread throughout Wyoming cities and townships? Who wants to take that first?
Greg. I will say that I have heard of Wyoming.
I can tell you right away. I love Wyoming. I think it was the most brilliant thing that a small state could do. in the West. I mean, it's, you know, most, I grew up Dodge City. And so people in the West or people in the Midwest even are different than on the East and the West Coast. And it's a very interesting cultural thing. But they were extremely smart because they took, and I don't know all the details. I'm not a lawyer, right? But the rules, I've started businesses. I know the rules from Delaware that Nevada, right? And then that they are an improvement over those because they added crypto as well. And it's just, I know people that start normal corporations now, not crypto, that prefer Wyoming. I think it's just super smart thing for them to do because they're going to have all of the biggest companies in the next decade are going to have been registered in Wyoming.
That's an interesting point, man, that we all keep trying to make about the squashing of crypto, how it's squashing innovation, and how you just made the whole argument in like one statement that is going to be so attractive to any business because it's like, look how forward thinking this is. They're not trying to hold things, you know, in years ago. Let's freeze this time period where we have control and we know everything. We understand what's going on. No, they're trying to open it up. And as far as Caitlin, I think you all know that I am pretty down on how things are right now and where I think they're going. And she is such a great example of just everything working correctly. You know, she went out there, she went back to her home state, and she just did work. She just worked her butt off, and she educated people. She used her networks and contacts from her internship before she left and went off to Wall Street, and she got like more done for crypto in a month than I think anyone has for years. It's a great story, and it's a great
personal hero Caitlin Long. She bit me with the Mises bug. I had no idea about Austrian economics as a thing other than a loose concept before she poured honey potion in my ear with a talk on Bitcoin actually. Other unsung hero in the legislature there is they've got a really, really, really smart legal drafter working in one of their sort of service departments for the legislature that writes a lot of that stuff in practice and like makes it practical. So like it speaks very highly for having expertise available to decision makers and leaders when they're creating legislation, because the people that make it smart are the people who actually write the code that enacts their will. So like that guy probably has done as much collaboration with Caitlin as the legislators there who like to high five her in public. So
there's also a big, we've talked a few times with the guys at the university there, and I think it's in Laramie. Like I've never been there. I think I'm supposed to go there in September, but they're brilliant and they're doing all the right things. They're trying to figure out how they can integrate blockchain into things and help participate in projects. And they've even told us that they are reviewing. They're helping. I don't know exactly precisely what, but they're helping their state. What do you call it? I mean, state department. That handles the DAO registrations to actually review the code and to help them, because these were bureaucrats working for the state that all of a sudden when they see a corporate registration come across, it's not like a PDF or some document, it is code. And it was that was a really funny thing to hear, right? And that they didn't blow out the something because of fear, that they just, let's go to the university guys, they can help us do this. And it was just an interesting thing. It's I think the attitude is just a little more open, and I don't know. I love it. I've not been there yet, right? So I hear it's cold a lot, but not as often as maybe you think. So I don't know, but that's okay. So anyway, anybody else on Wyoming, or we move on?
Where in Wyoming is the hottest place to be, though. I think was the
Jackson
crux of
Hole
that
is
question.
probably
Cheyenne,
the
man.
place.
That's where it's
Cheyenne?
at. Go to the
Really? Is it?
capital.
Okay.
It is.
Okay. Oh, is that the capital, Cheyenne? Right. Okay. Yes, it is. I remember that.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. All right. Next. Let's see here. Okay. Angel Breaker question: how to pen test, secure, or audit your smart contracts so they don't get exploited? What do you guys think? Any good tips?
Taylor and Austin are good for this one.
You hire people. You hire experts
Yes.
to do this.
Yeah, and I mean,
you can try. You can. I do not oppose you trying to pen test your own stuff, but
well, I would like, I'm qualified to do that sort of work. I have been a penetration tester in a past life. I would not try to penetration test my own stuff. I want somebody else to. I mean, I guess it depends on the.
I mean, you can.
If it's something that I can swap out really easily if I find an issue and it's not going to result in, at Rivet we have a payments contract where like there is a payment going from point A to point B by way of this contract that emits an event that are, like if some issue comes up with that, we can comp a customer whatever costs they lost and fix it before the next thing comes up. It's not going to be a massive loss. If we're talking, something where you're expecting to be controlling millions of dollars of customer funds, then like even I, who would audit somebody else's contract, wouldn't audit my own.
Yes.
Yeah. It's engineering separation. That's good.
Yeah, because you can't. How do I say this? Like, if you're not an engineer, it's like this. If you write like an essay or if you design stuff, right, and you go back and you read it like 6 months or 6 years later or something, or look at it, you'll look at it and you'll be like, oh man, that isn't clean. Oh man, there's typos right there in front of my face that I looked at for hours as I was writing this, right? You have someone else look at it because they're not you. They haven't been down the rabbit hole. They're going to look at it in a way that you aren't looking at it, and they're going to catch the things that you can never catch no matter how hard you try. So that's one reason you have external
it's the
people
curse
do
of
it.
knowledge sort of thing of, when you know something inside and out, you have a particular way of thinking about it. And it's really, really hard to get your head out of thinking about it the way you were thinking about it when you designed a system. You need somebody else who has to learn the system in order to get a fresh take on it.
And I want to say that some of my favorite ways of doing any type of review, code review, or whatever else, whenever it comes to an open discussion or whatever else, or just involving others, is to include someone in the process that I know doesn't like me, because they're going to be hard asses. If someone likes you, they're going to be more
finding people who don't like him.
Yeah. I'm a jackass. I say horrible things, and people. It's very easy to offend people on the internet. So,
can you
in any
review
case,
this for me? By the way, you suck. Is that how it starts? You make sure that they don't like you in the process of hiring them.
I mean, not in hiring, but in terms of including others, or like one of the best ways to get the correct answer on the internet is to say the wrong thing on purpose.
That my favorite thing in the world, by the way. It's like, I'm like, if I really want to know the truth about something, if I really want someone to like go to town and like give me all the insight on something that I know nothing about, just go open up your Twitter and then just state something that you're like not sure about at all. State it as like very, very hard fact, and watch the people pile in, and you will get like a whole, you can be educated in like 5 seconds flat. It's amazing. It's so good.
And just about the more pompous you are about, the more the more belligerent you are about how correct and how perfect your code is or your contract is, the more people will try to break your stuff.
Yeah.
And the more attention you'll have to try and catch problems.
That's a definite thing.
It's also kind of a key proponent, like a key reason open source is so powerful and so important, right? If people can see your code and they can sort of unsolicitedly come after you for whatever reason, and they're interested in doing the right thing, which you'd be surprised how many people in the software world are interested in it being good. because it's good for all of us when the systems we build on are stable. Open source is an ethical cap on misbehavior that is underutilized, I think, in especially in the Web 2 world, that I think crypto has a real chance to have a leg up on if it's done right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. We're at the 50-minute mark, so I'm going to close out everything. Does anyone have anything they want to plug this week to close out the show? Who wants to go first?
If it's all right, I'd like to plug waddyforcongress.com. And so pretty much I'm running. If you're like me, you're sick and tired of self-serving politicians that don't represent America or their constituents' values. They don't understand really what's going on with the culture of technology and America today and the world. Please visit waddyforcongress.com. We're one of the very, very few, maybe 2 or 3 of us in the whole country who are accepting cryptocurrency donations. Go to my website, reach out to me. I'd like to talk to more people in the digital assets, blockchain, crypto community. And what do you want to see in Washington, D.C.? What type of regulation could hinder us? Is there any that could potentially help the digital asset community? I don't know. I don't like regulation, but I would like to have those discussions. So please, waddyforcongress.com, throw me some crypto, give me 0.7 of a Bitcoin. I'll be really happy with you. Of Ethereum. But that's it from me. And thank you so much for having me on, Rivet, and nice to meet you. And Joe, thank you so much.
Yes. Anybody else?
Usual stuff. If you haven't seen it out there, build it. It's waiting to be created.
Okay.
Yeah, usual stuff. Goes to Sean on YouTube, on Twitter's. What do I have going on this week? I forget.
This fail, Sean. I can't believe it.
No, I had did a show on grief on like Queen Lisa last week, which was pretty good. You can check it out on her channel.
Okay.
Tomorrow we're just doing every Friday we do the recap of the news on Rice TVX. You can check that out tomorrow at 6 Eastern. We have Nick Saponaro from Divi is going to be on.
Nice.
That's about it, man.
Okay.
Well,
And one more thing before Sam says it, because everyone needs to look at Sam. Because I said this on a show that we were all on last week or week before, but I was watching this show on TV, and my son walked in the room. He's like, "Who's young Matt Damon?" And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You can't say that's not young Matt Damon right there." And I was like, "Oh my God, you're right."
That's
so
hilarious.
now, time, dude. When he's sitting there, I got someone to look at it that doesn't like me. I'm like, who doesn't like Matt Damon?
Can I say that? I don't like Matt Damon. But anyway,
so you don't like my face? Anyways,
Sam, I think, is going to be an improvement for the world of what we got with Matt Damon in the past. That's how
I'm Sam. I don't have any social medias. I've talked about this before, that I'm kind of off the internet for the most part on anything that is really attached to me. I've had Twitters in the past. I've probably set up something in the future that you can I'll plug in eventually here in one of these shows, and you can come follow me whenever I do that and yell at me about how horrible I am, or how it is I'm wrong, how it is that Dogecoin is actually not a real currency to be a maximalist on. Whatever it is you think I'm wrong about, I'll find a Twitter handle that works and let you guys follow me to yell at me about how Dogecoin maximalism is not a true financial security future.
Guys, sign up for Den, and you can ask questions in this forum. And that's how you can get a hold of Sam, the Matt Damon lookalike.
There you go. Anything, Taylor, of My Crypto?
So follow us on Twitter at My Crypto. I am dropping. If you guys don't know, Ethereum did this whole hard fork thing last week with the infamous fee burning EIP 1559. Now it's been a week. MetaMask has started rolling out, which is like a large user base. So I'm working on a thread right now. It's not too I'm trying to make it really accessible because it's taken me a long time for me to wrap my head around how the fees have sort of like changed, what the implications are, and what we can sort of expect to pay for transactions, right? Or how the networks act without any mention of the fee burning, because that's what everyone is talking about. And I don't care how much money we burn. I want to know everything else. So I don't know, give me an hour or two for that. That'll be at My Crypto on Twitter.
Yeah, 'cause I have some stuff on that, even on like now with the new changes, you can't adjust the fees as easily. And I don't know enough about how you prioritize or not, right? So that's good.
Yep, it's a lot. I've never spent more time wrapping my head around like a network thing, and like including like first getting into Bitcoin, first getting into ETH. Like this specific change is very complex, and the fact that we did this change, right? The fact that Ethereum pushed this change on a live network is just, it's mind-boggling. So
I mean that's what I kind of come to expect out of Ethereum devs. They don't really give it much community effort on implementation. They just kind of say, this is happening, this is the block, deal with it. If it works, it works. If it breaks, well, shit.
Yeah,
going back.
They do. So also
years. There's a lot of community discussion on that one.
Yes. So this EIP specifically has had. Oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
This EIP has had so much discussion around it, and they have done a massive amount of work on like the incentives and the network security and that sort of research and that sort of testing. Where it sort of fell off was the like, oh, users need to use this. Oh, wallets need to push this. Oh, these random smart contracts need to be updated. So that's what we're dealing with right now. The actual underlying protocol level stuff is solid, and it's the incentive changes are.
So how do you estimate gas and present it to users in a way that's meaningful?
Super interesting though.
Yes, very interesting. So I'll drop that. I have like some graphs and pretty things too, if you like graphs.
Cool.
I like graphs.
Thanks for writing that up. I'm excited to read it.
Yeah.
All right. Is that everything? Everybody good? Anybody else? Okay. So make sure join us again next week. And trying to think, I'll get through my list here. Make sure you ask get enough questions in there, particularly anything topical you want to know about, and make sure you vote them up to where you want to see them in the order. Make sure you share the episode.
So we're
no sports questions.
Yeah.
No, you can also just make bald-faced assertions, and if we think they're wrong, we'll tell you.
That's true. Go ahead and make some bold assertions.
About like Dogecoin maximalism. Like, come on, guys, you got to be creative here.
Yes.
Right.
Insightful commentary is the best commentary.
Yep.
Just make sure to say "don't at me" in the comments, so we can make sure to really come after you hard.
There you go. Okay, so share the episode. The more you share it, the more lots you'll get if you got a topic in there. Make sure you subscribe and like it and everything else. So thanks a bunch, everybody, for joining. We'll see at least a few of you next week. All right. Bye.
Have fun.
Cheers.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.